And we're live. Okay, I'm just going to start with this video, but before I start, I just want to explain it. Tom Vogel, who now works with us a lot, took this yesterday of the silent protest at Channel 7. And it's so beautiful, I wanted to stream it out to the world here now. So I'll get off and I'll stream it. And that was it. That was the thing from Tom. And Damien, there's a video of you going around where you're trying to reach your COVID coach.
Now, there was a bit of conjecture because I didn't make it in time for the protest at Channel 7, and now I know why. Well, because it was a silent protest.
Yeah.
And I've got a megaphone that I got given to me for Christmas, and I want to use it. There's no way I would have been at parties to any silent protest.
So I'll try to find that thing. Anyway, I'm going to bring our guests in now. So there's actually three women. I'm going to bring them in. This is Devon, and this is Tracy, and this is Susie. Maybe looking good, Susie. Susie, there.
Look at that.
Okay, we'll mute Susie for now. Now, all these three women have something in common. They've all been to hospitals, unvaccinated for various reasons, and all had varying experiences. And I'm going to start with Devon. Devon, could you fill us in on why our producer approached you?
Well, I had a very unfortunate experience on Friday at Cotton Tree at the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. I went there for a Freedom Day fest, and we had a lovely day. It was a wonderful, wonderful day. It was getting close to the evening when, unfortunately, I was involved in I got in somebody's way who was hell-bent on hurting somebody, and I landed in the hospital and he landed in jail. So it wasn't a very pleasant evening.
And I heard you had a broken nose?
Yeah, I have a broken nose, and I've got a pretty wrecked shoulder, and I've got some damage on my body. I had some pre-existing stuff that was pretty serious already, so it certainly has aggravated things.
Had you had a broken nose before when you did your boxing?
No.
You hadn't had
No.
So you were in hospital. Go there. You were in hospital because you got beaten up, and so you went to hospital for that. Okay. Now
I actually took a king hit to the head. Yeah, so I actually took a king hit to the head.
Let's find out what happened there. What? That's.
I just want to get all the stories together.
Yeah.
And then Tracy. Yeah. Why were you in hospital? And don't tell me what happened first, because we'll get to that. But let's just set Act 1. Why were you at the hospital?
My son had to go for a physio appointment.
Okay. So there was nothing actually wrong with you?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Okay, great. And Susie's having a bit of trouble coming in, so we'll get her back in. So while she does, Devon, go back to what happened at the hospital when you got there.
Well, I got brought in by ambulance. It must have been about, I think it was 9:30, 10 o'clock at night or something like that on Friday evening.
I'm just contacting Susie. I'm not ignoring you.
That's okay. And when I arrived, it was very busy. They put me in a chair in the waiting room and slumped over for the night. Yeah, I was there until 7 o'clock in the morning when they discharged me. But it was quite a hairy night. I had a few experiences that were pretty. I think the hit that I took to the face actually wasn't quite so bad as the hit that I took psychologically afterwards through my ordeal.
Okay. I'll just get back to that in a sec. Susie, how are you going? Let's
see. Good. I decided to do it on my mobile, so.
Great. Let's do that. Okay. Now, we've asked the other two ladies why they were in hospital. Can we just start with that? Just tell us why you were in hospital, and then we'll go to the experience. So why were you at the hospital?
Well, I contracted COVID.
Mm.
And because I have a history of asthma, apparently, I don't remember, but I went outside to get some clothes off the line and came in and told my husband that I couldn't breathe. So, and due to the asthma storm. So the COVID has exacerbated my asthma pretty much.
Okay. Well, I'll just go back to Devon. So that's the first act. So we've got asthma, someone going with their son with physio, and show us your stress ball. and Devon, you're in hospital. So how were you treated in hospital? Why have you come onto these speaking shows? What were they treating you like?
Sorry, were you speaking to me, Michael?
Yeah, Devon. Sorry. Yeah.
Is it possible to roll it back and just find out what happened to Devon in the first? Because that story's just aching to be told. How did you end up in physical?
It was a nightmare, Damien. It was an absolute nightmare. It was awful. There were 4 women. We were sitting at the end of the festival at the back of my bus. I have a bus we had opened up into the park area, and we were getting ready to finish up. And a man who had walked past us an hour before.
Finish up what, Devon?
The Freedom Fest. So we're at the Freedom Fest.
Yep.
Yes, It was a beautiful day. It was wonderful. It's just a shame it ended that way. So he had walked past us about an hour before, stumbling and shouting things about ASIO, and we knew he wasn't doing very well then. About an hour later, he came back and he injected himself into our group and started to get quite physical with my old dog that I have, and then some of my friends, and it just escalated from there.
And what was his antipathy towards you? What was driving it? Was there something? Was it just crazy, or was it something to do with?
Yeah, I think it was. I think that there was a lot. Evidently, he had been kicked out of the function before, so he'd, when he came back, I think he'd come back with more anger than anything. How I don't really know. I think I would imagine there's probably some mental health issues, but there's definitely he was a pretty vile creature to some of the things he was saying, and it was very highly sexualized overtones and quite physical, and it was pretty ugly, pretty nasty, and nobody would step in. It was just crazy. I tried to call for somebody to come and help. No, everybody stood back and recorded the bloody thing. Yeah.
So how did it escalate to the point where you physically came to blows with a man?
If you had seen, yeah. If you see the video, I lost it. I used to work in corrections and forensic disability, so I've been trained. I haven't used it for a long time, and I didn't know I still had it in me. But let me tell you, I found every ounce of that and every ounce of anger I've had in me over the last 58 years.
So what, you physically?
We got him down in the end. He had. Oh, I did. Oh, yes, absolutely. Right. Unfortunately, I panicked at one stage and I let go of him at one stage because I thought I was going to kill him. And that's when he clocked me. But he went down shortly after, so it was okay. I fared okay.
Wow. Okay. Can we move now? Sorry, to the hospital. So how did
the hospital?
Let's get there. So you've already been assaulted by this crazy.
I have no complaints. I have no complaints about the hospital.
You took yourself to
no,
hospital?
ambulance dropped me. Ambulance took me there and basically dropped me in the waiting room. They didn't even do a proper handover because none of my information was passed over. So my GP still doesn't even have a discharge report, nor do I. And that was Saturday morning by the time I was discharged.
So someone called the ambulance.
Yeah.
Yep, they came.
Yeah, somebody stepped in eventually. After we got it, once I got hit, we finally had somebody step in. That's finally when somebody stepped in. So, yeah. So he called the police and ambulance. They took me to the hospital. They were way too busy. They just put me in a chair, and I was just slumped over in emergency all night long. I got seen at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was absolutely starving. I got out at 7:30. I think about 10 o'clock at night. And I hadn't eaten since about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, so it'd been a long time since I'd eaten. Anyhow, on my way out the door, I said to them, look, I'm really hungry. I need to get some food. Can I go through to the cafeteria? And they said, well, you have to go out this door and around the corner, and then the cafeteria is around there. Well, that was a mistake. I should never, and this is a lesson for anybody like me who is not vaxxed or jabbed, whatever you want to call it, don't go outside the hospital until you're well and truly ready to go outside the hospital, because if you have to come in another door, you're stuffed. So I tried to go into the other door to the cafe to get some food. I had to wait for an hour and a half for a ride to come and collect me. And I was pretty worse for wear, I can tell you. I was not feeling good at all. I was a wreck. And they wouldn't let me in. I couldn't even go into the loo or anything. It was just disgusting. Wow. And my phone was dead. I just sat there, and I came very, very close to I thought, I'll get the bastards. I'll make this a mental health issue. But then I thought, no, I'm going to lose my rights, and then that's the last thing I need. So I didn't do that. But I certainly felt like it.
Your phone was dead. Your nose was broken. You'd been in the hospital all night. You're starving. Yeah. And now you can't even get back into the hospital.
Oh, look, I'm black and blue all over. I took a bit of a beating. I'm 58-year-old grandma. I was sitting there minding my own bloody business. Yeah. But the worst part about it, all of that's not the worst part about it. The worst part about it is, I might cry if I tell you this. During the night, there was a man that came in. His daughter came in by ambulance, and he couldn't go in because he only had a single jab. So he was standing outside the emergency waiting room when his baby is coming in by ambulance. That's what gets me. I don't care about the other stuff, the stuff to do with me. If this is my grandchild, or if this is one of your children, or I just can't let this happen. This has to be spoken about. This is just wrong. It's criminal.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move now to Tracy. Just unclick your mute. Tracy, I'll get you to explain this video. So you went to hospital, and when they found out you weren't jabbed, they asked you to wear some gear.
Yeah.
This is the gear.
Yes. Okay, so I'm here at the Crazy Burn Health Ally.
So can you tell me what happened with this? Because the audio is not that great. So just...
Yeah, so basically I went in for our usual physio appointment at the Crazy Burn Hospital. It's a part of the Northern Health Hospital. And everything was fine. We got through the front check-in, which is 2 nurses sitting at the front who check people in. And whilst I was in there putting the Medicare details on the computer, she ran up and said to me, "Oh, are you double vaxxed?" And I said no. And with that, she's like, "Oh, that's a bit of a problem. I'll just have to talk to someone." So she told me to come back and wait halfway in the foyer. We didn't go completely out of the hospital yet. We were still standing in the foyer. And she called down her supervisor. And at that time, the security guard also came down. And, just started saying that I had to put on this protective gear if I wanted to go into my son's appointment. And, yeah.
And did you have to wait in the waiting room dressed like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, initially I sort of asked them for legal information regarding, because parents are supposed to go in with a minor. And I had said to her...
How old is your son? How old is he?
He's 14.
14, yep.
Yeah, but I had asked her if a woman came in with a baby, a newborn, and had an appointment, would she be allowed, would the baby be seen? And she had no problem in telling me that if the mother wasn't double vaxxed and refused to wear the outfit, that her baby would not get an appointment. So, yeah.
Could you just say that? Sorry, could you just say that once more?
Yeah. So I asked her.
People can really hear it.
Yeah. So I asked if I had a newborn baby with me, and I chose that I didn't want to wear the PPE. Is it PPE gear? I don't know.
Yeah, PPE.
Yeah. How would that work? And she said, well, you wouldn't have to wear the gear, but you wouldn't be allowed into the appointment. So the baby wouldn't get seen by a doctor.
I'll just show this stuff again.
This apparently came in last week, this rule, and I wasn't notified.
And did you have stuff on your body as well that we couldn't see, or was it just the mask and the
It was the yellow, what's it called? The coat.
Visor? The coat, you had the coat as well. So is it one size fits all, Or
Yeah.
do they have to ask you for your measurements? Or well, no, it's like it's insane. It's just insane.
Yeah, I'm giving
So they just took us.
And then she
Hey?
starts handing me everything. Then there's the face mask,
Right.
and I already had a mask on. I said, I've got a mask on. She goes, no, that one's not good enough. But the thing was, no one else in there had that stuff on except for me.
Yeah.
So
Standing out.
Special.
Standing out. Yeah. No, I'm just worried because if I go to the Craigieburn, facility, I'm probably much bigger than you, so I might need to have a different size. So I just want to make sure they got sizes for everyone because it's just.
Did they sit you in the
one size
naughty?
fits all.
Did they sit you in the naughty corner below a big sign
Well,
that said
that's how
"Not
I
back"?
felt. That's
I
how
probably
it
get to use the one you've already used. That's how much they care about it. Yeah, chuck this one on. Tracy wore it last week.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. That's thanks, Tracy.
I find it hard.
Okay.
It's just so perverted. It's so insane. It's.
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing. We're living in an insane world
it's
now.
just ridiculous. Yeah.
It's
so
hard to
ridiculous.
do jokes because the world's hilariously insane.
Well,
I know.
I just want to show it again. So
I had said to her, so my son's 14, but does he need to wear the same stuff? And she said, no, he's fine. And I said, but he must be able to give COVID or get COVID. Like, I'm sure it doesn't know age. I don't know it, like.
Well, it knows lots of things, COVID. It's a very smart,
It's
very
smart
smart. We saw
virus.
some police yesterday. Some
actually,
had masks
Damien,
on, and some of them didn't have masks on. So
no, wait, Damien,
COVID
wait.
knows where it's going.
I've got the video.
Oh,
So
okay.
before Susie, before we move to you,
I just say, Tracy, it's impossible. Like you were saying, Michael, before, it's impossible to do satire now because the world comes pre-packaged as satire already.
Yeah.
So I don't know what satirists are going to do moving
see
forward.
this works. Hold on. I want it to come. No, I won't do that one.
Keep going.
Yeah, no, it's Damien had that yesterday. So basically, we were at the cricket with our free hug signs, and Damien's not a hugger, so he's up there trying to get arrested again. And there's a guy there called, and we have a joke because he can't catch COVID, he can't get arrested. And then there's a guy called a COVID coach, and he refused to talk to Damien. All these police blocked him, and then there was all these police in front of him in masks, but over in the corner. I'll let you finish the story, Damien.
Well, there's two policemen without masks. They're just hanging out with each other, having a chat. They might as well have had a ciggy. I mean, it was ridiculous. And so clearly COVID knows where it's not wanted. But they were.
And he was actually going up to the police and saying that. He was coming up. So these police, COVID can't.
No, that's because I felt safe around them because I knew that COVID wasn't going to be there because they didn't have masks on. So I thought if I hung around them, I'm bound to be safe as well. So there's nothing for me to worry about. Then they kept trying to walk away from me, of course. So I kept trying to walk with them. It wasn't about harassment. It was just about being in a safe zone where COVID knew not to come. And that's the thing about COVID. You never know what's going to happen, but the police know. There's a COVID coach at every single gate to go into what used to be Etihad Stadium, Marvel Stadium, they're calling it now, a COVID coach with a sign on his back with two kids standing 1.5 meters apart. Do you think he enforced it when all these kids came pouring in? No, not once. Did not see the COVID coach once saying to anyone that they should stay 1.5
we were hugging them all.
apart.
We were just away hugging everybody with the free hug arm.
It was insane. So when I asked him what he was doing to pull that wage, then the police got involved and put a phalanx of police in front of me and him because clearly those questions were not allowed because that's the world we live in now, where questions of rationality are no longer permissible. Sorry, Susie.
In fact,
please.
Just what you said, Tracy. About. Well, you were talking sense to them, and probably the same with Devon. People get awkward when you talk sense. They actually get agitated.
They didn't want to make eye contact. There was no eye contact. Yeah. They made it clear.
And
they walked off as they spoke to me as well.
Yeah. It's extraordinary, but you actually talk truth and common sense, and people are going, oh. Yeah. So, yeah. But now I want to move to the story of Susie. So, Susie, you're at home. You're having an asthma attack. And lead us from there. Oh, sorry. Go, Susie.
Oh, okay. Well, to start off with, I'm a healthcare worker. I've been a healthcare worker for 30 years. I started off in the 80s in the AIDS epidemic in Fairfield Hospital. So what Tracy wore, I wore 8 hours a day, and that mask is an N95 mask, which we all had to be fitted. So for the first 18 months of COVID, I worked without a vaccine. but I'd no longer work anymore because I'm not vaccinated. But anyway, so I just thought I'd let you know that I'm a healthcare worker and I didn't like what was going on in the system before this all happened anyway. So I just thought I'd let you know. But anyway, so my husband got me sent to hospital. I don't recall going to hospital. This is something that COVID must do to you. I don't recall it because I went to the hospital and I was intubated, which means I was on life support.
Wow.
So the machines are doing all the work for me. So, yeah.
That's a dangerous situation to be in, isn't it? That's a dangerous
very
situation once you
dangerous,
get to that point.
Well, yes. So
is your husband there? Can he fill in the blank between you at home and you in the thing? Or is he too nervous to come on?
He's there. You can hear him. You can hear him chipping away in the background.
he wants to talk on the side.
We can't hear him on the side. Come on, big fella.
That screen's too small.
Squeeze in. Squeeze in. There he is. How you
There you
going?
go. Oh, yeah.
Hey, mate.
So to fill it in from when she came in saying she had an asthma attack to where she ended up in a coma. That's extraordinary. That's an extraordinary quick journey.
Yeah, well, I think it was a Sunday. I don't know what it was like in Melbourne, but out here we're having some big storms, like three or so weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
where are you? Just so our audience know, whereabouts are you?
Oh, Central Victoria.
Central Victoria. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. That's cool.
And well, out here anyway, when those particular storms, because with the northerly winds and that, we get the pollen and that coming.
Yeah.
And anyway, Sue has bad asthma anyway, and these things don't help. But I think from memory, we're in about day 10 because I've 3 of us at home got it. So we were in bed together. Yeah, COVID. We were in bed for the I think we're nearly 10 days. I don't know. Maybe half of that was we sort of like with a flu, you get stuck in bed, you can't get out, and then we'd have a good day where we're able to get up and do, and it's all here. This is we're getting better, and then the next day it'd be crap again. But and Sue would get up because her oxygen levels were a fair bit lower than I had at the time, and because of her asthma, but. And she'd get up now and again to go to take a breath because can breathe a bit easier and get more air in sort of outside and the position. Anyway, on that day, we had the asthma storm and Sue just happened to go out outside. And normally when she did it, she might be gone for an hour and plod around and that, but this time, because we were both in bed, she got up and not even 3 or 4 minutes later she comes sort of straggling in, and I can't breathe, and we thought don't ring an ambo because she laid on on the bed straight away and couldn't do anything and was gasping and freaking out and so I rang the ambo, and normally they keep you on the phone for the whole time, but she asked a few questions. I said, "This is what's going on," blah blah blah, and she said, "Look, I'll hang up because it was only sort of me looking after her, and she's gasping, and I'm thinking, oh, this is it, sort of thing." And on the phone, she ended up saying, "Look, there's an ambo coming. I'll get off." And anyway, and I'm normally out here because we've had to get ambulances before. It takes 45 minutes to an hour, if at all, if they come out. So that was in my mind. I thought, well, here's an hour wait. What am I going to do? And
did they want to know Susie's vaccination status at any point?
I can't remember about the vax at the time, but I'll let them know that we're both COVID positive. It's possible about the vax. He did when the ambo turned up. Anyway, that was I think they asked, but it was more at the hospital. Mm-hmm. Anyway, until the ambo comes, she's gasping and freaking out, and I was sort of thinking, the next thing I'm going to end up doing is CPR. And I just happened to look over, and I've got a CPAP machine for sleep, and then I thought, bang, I'll put that on it.
Were you worried at any stage that you might lose it? Was that
Oh,
something that was going
then,
through your
yeah.
mind?
Well,
Yeah.
at that time, yeah. Especially knowing that the ambos normally take, an hour to might not turn up here, and which has happened before.
What was the machine you had that you said?
Oh, CPAP, because I've got sleep
apnea.
apnea. So
Okay.
I have it basically,
Oh, I see. Oh, clever.
Yeah. So I thought prior to her, passing out, basically, because that was on the cards, and I thought, I'll put that on, and she sort of struggled with it first because she was still panicking and stuff. And
I don't remember any of this. I don't. Yeah.
Luckily,
Is this the first time you've heard it? Is this the first time you've heard it, or
No,
have you already asked him?
He's told me that
He's told
that's
you.
what he did,
Yeah.
but I don't remember because my saturation was so low that
she was down it started off at the start, in high 90s in the earlier days, but that day it was down in the, I think, mid 80s.
And what's the saturation?
Happening.
What is the saturation? What does that mean?
That's our oxygen in our blood.
Your oxygen level in your blood,
100 is good. Is a good, from 95 to 100.
These little jiggers you put on your finger, these are. I don't know if you can see it,
I've seen them at the hospital.
Put on your finger. It tells you your blood, your heart rate, and your saturation level.
Your oxygen level in the blood.
Yeah. So, got a lot of great equipment.
The ambulance had no problem you being unvaccinated. So you get to the hospital, and at the hospital, they have a problem with your vaccine status, or the fact that you have COVID.
I can't remember any of it.
No, well, it might have been an issue if we had walked in, because she went in, in the condition she was in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Emergency.
they knew.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, because it's on her paperwork. But
I mean, you in the ambulance?
No, it was basically, even once they got here, was sort of, stand aside. They asked me, you COVID positive too. And then it was like, can you go and move the car or write your details down for us, name and number and stuff, and leave me alone, sort of thing, to sort this out. Anyway, and they turned up strangely gratefully within, I think, 10 minutes.
Okay.
Of hanging up the phone, which I didn't expect, and I think it, in 5 or so minutes, they assessed her here, put on oxygen, and actually her sat level, come pretty good with the oxygen here. So I thought, oh well, that's a good thing. She'll just, go to get taken to hospital, maybe get some, inhaler steroids and that, which has happened before with her asthma. And it'll be good. But I think I got a message. Sue said, I'm at the hospital. And that's the last I heard of her that night. And I think I'd spoken to the hospital at some point, possibly that night. But I remember I'd end up going to sleep somehow, but it was 2:30 or something in the morning. I thought I was dreaming, but the phone was ringing because I had it right next to me, sort of laying next to me. And so I thought I was dreaming, and the phone was going off, and I'm turning it off like, how dare you wake me while I'm sleeping, and not realising that it was the hospital. And they'd stopped ringing anyway, and the next morning, sometime mid-morning, I'd found out they were ringing because she'd gone from sort of sitting up with a reasonable, oxygen level to where they've tubed her.
Wow.
And I just went sort of to shit a bit, for the next 2 weeks, and no visitors. So
Jim couldn't be by my side. So the system is now that you can't have any visitors. So the whole time, Jim's waiting on them to call. So I went to 2 hospitals. The first hospital seemed to be okay, although they did ask questions am I vaccinated? Am I
And
vaccinated?
why? Or
And Jim's like, well, is that going to be an issue? Is she going to be treated differently? I don't remember being at the first hospital because then they transported me to a different hospital.
because they needed the ICU bed
Um,
at the first one.
yeah. So anyway, so what I remember, and this isn't to bag nurses because nurses are doing the best they can. Well, most nurses. But it's more the system because for one, I've got no visitors. For two, like I don't know what, I didn't know what the hell was going on. Like they've pulled the tube out and I've woken up and I'm like, what happened? Like, why am I here? And I've got my family on FaceTiming and I'm like, what happened? You know? And they just kept repeating, oh, you were sick, you were sick, you were sick. But the whole time, no visitors, no family support, and no emotional support. So my problem is it's not the physical side of things because I'm determined and I'm already walking. You know, like it took me a few days to walk, but I'm walking with an aid, but I'm getting there. But it was the way that, you know, we can't get to you now. We've got other patients, you know, and, you know, the nurses are doing their best they can, but they've got so much workload. It's ridiculous.
And then they're short staffed.
And half of them in the ward are vaccinated. So work that out. But because I wasn't vaccinated, I kept getting, are you going to get vaxxed now? Have you learnt your lesson? So you're going to go and get it done after you get out of here? Are you one of those people that go to the rally? Yeah. It's like, oh, you probably got it from there. You probably deserved it because look at you now. So there were nurses that did that, but only a very few. But most of them were like, we can't get to you now because we've got patients. They keep away, they stand away, they do what they have to do, and they're out the door. Now, that's not my training. My training is very hands-on. I don't care if there was COVID or not. I got PPE on. I would hold someone's hand. You didn't get any of that. Nurses
They're like robots.
Nurses need to just stop and say, enough. Enough is enough.
Are they allowed to do that though in the hospitals?
Well,
I mean, so many people are losing their jobs now constantly. There's a fear, you know.
Well,
I mean, I'm not
exactly. You know, there's a lot of fear. Then
the community needs to say enough is enough.
Can we just go back to Devon? Devon, do you think one of the reasons, and is there a light in your room, Devon? Because you're
getting very dark.
I'm getting dark, am I?
Are you trying to hide the bruises? Are you hiding the bruises, Devon?
No, I'm actually not too bad.
I'm actually just wondering, Devon, do you think the reason you waited so long is that there was just a lack of hospital staff, a lack of nurses?
Well, I was told that there was only one doctor on. Whether that's true or not, and it was only for a short period of time, I really don't know. But that it was the night was an absolute nightmare in regard to it was very busy. There was some very traumatic things happening, so I'm really not sure. Definitely I've asked, so I've put a formal complaint in, and I have asked for it, whether or not they were. Thank you. Whether or not they were understaffed, and if so, were the reasons for that because they had been stood down. I just want to say, since I've actually shared this with people and started talking to people, I'm hearing horror story after horror story after horror story. And thank you very much. That's better. Hey. And a friend of mine messaged me today. She had surgery, very serious surgery, a few weeks back. And she's not jabbed. They were so short-staffed that they wouldn't even get her out of bed to use the toilet. They gave her a bedpan, and she had all these drains and everything. And she's saying, "No, you've got to get up. I can't use a bedpan." And they basically told her, "You either use a bedpan or you crap the bed." is basically what they told her, along with a whole lot of other. They weren't looking after her properly. Her I don't know what you call it, that cannula in the arm with her medicine wasn't working, and she was trying to tell them she wasn't getting medicine. They didn't take any notice. It took 2 days, and the doctor finally come in to go, what the heck is going on here? And I'm hearing this story after story after story of short-staffed. These rotten things are happening, and it's putting people's lives at risk, whether you're jabbed or not.
It's a real war on love, isn't it? It's basically a war on love.
Yeah, no, they are very short-staffed.
Exactly, Damien. Exactly.
Yeah. Because I just worked in cath lab as well, and they are very short-staffed. And
they didn't sack everyone.
Yeah,
wouldn't
because they sacked a lot of nurses, so that's why we're all short-staffed.
What did you work in, Susie? For those of us who don't understand the lingo.
Well, I've done a few things. I've worked in emergency department for the last 19 years, and then because you had to be back
as a nurse or admin, what were you actually doing?
I was a nursing attendant.
Oh, yep.
But then I've done it for so long, and then I've done courses in pathology, and I've done my first year of paramedical science. So, and I've been sacked from all those jobs, but
because of vaccination status.
Exactly. But for the first 18 years, I was fine. 18 months of COVID, I was okay, because COVID doesn't, and I know my PPE, and I know my safety precautions, and I know all that, and I'm happy to work in those conditions. It doesn't matter. Although I did notice the way the system was with people, especially the non-English older people, I used to just cringe. And the amount of times that I'll take a patient to the hospital and all that sort of stuff, and I just cringe at the way that people got treated. And then I worked in cath lab, and the amount of
what's cath? Can you say that? What that is?
Cardiology, where they did angiograms, and the amount of people that came in with myocarditis due to the vaccine is ridiculous. You know what I mean? But you don't know. We got emails saying that we're not allowed to say anything bad about the vaccine. So
under a threat of what?
Well, we'd get fired.
So if you said anything bad about the vaccine, you'd get fired. That was in the emails.
Yes.
But you've been there for years, Susie, so you know those people there. So what happens between you? You guys know what's going on. Do you still talk covertly to each other about what's going on?
We talk amongst ourselves, but you've got to be careful who you talk to. Do you know what I mean? You had to be really careful.
That's the new world we live in.
There was nurses you could talk to about, and there was nurses that you just did not discuss any of it,
What was the worry? What would those nurses do if you did talk about it? They would go and tell someone.
They'll report you.
Yeah, and then you
use it to their own advantage, basically. Yeah.
Oh,
if you a lot of people at the marches and stuff talking from Hungarians, Poles, all these people lived under totalitarianism. That's what they say. You're fright. You've got to live keeping everything inside, because if you talk to the wrong person or you say the wrong thing, you're finished. And I even met a woman at that Christmas carol that we did, and that's what she said. She actually ended up crying in my arms and said, "I can't keep it in. I've just got to be silent all the time." And she was really struggling.
But that's the pretense we're experiencing too, isn't it? Even at the cricket, Michael, that's what we were. And so if you dare call it out, it's like people almost can't handle it, because we have to live in this pretense. What are you doing by calling it out? You're causing more drama by calling it out. Just go along with it. Get along with it. But to what end? Where does it end? And it's sort of okay to call it out at the moment, but you can imagine there will come a point where it won't be okay to call it out. You'll be taken away.
Yeah, absolutely. I just moved to Tracy. Sorry, Susie, just for a sec. Tracy, how long were you there dressed up like Donald Duck?
I probably kept it on. I lasted about 10 minutes. I mean, from putting it on and standing around with 4 people staring at me in my face, by the time I sat down, it was 10 minutes sitting down, because I was waiting for my son to go into his appointment.
And how were you feeling in that 10 minutes? What was the emotion?
Very emotional. I was very emotional. I was very claustrophobic, because it's very hard to breathe in that particular mask. And I just said to my son, I can't go in with you, because I will become emotional. If I've got to sit in a room with you with your physio and I'm the only one looking like Donald Duck, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, yeah, I was very emotional. And, you know, as a person, like, I suffer from generalized anxiety, and I'm like in a building, medical professionals who do deal with patients that are psych patients as well. And just no one even acknowledging that I was under stress. Like, they didn't say to me, look, would you like to come aside and we'll talk about it or something? They were just talking down to me, which is just the norm now wherever you go. Everyone's talking down to you. So
it's extraordinary, isn't it? Because you think how far we've come. Remember the 80s when HIV came out, and so people did have a reaction, particularly to the gay community really early on. They're very frightened. But we were educated that there's just no way you're allowed to behave like this. There's no way you would be able to force someone because of sexual proclivity dress up in the suit that you were in because they might be considered some sort of danger to the rest of the community. There's just no way. But now, suddenly, 25 years later, all bets are off.
It was even more than that, Damien. They used to, like Princess Di, I think, started it with handshaking and then hugging. It actually, the celebrities actually were leading the way by accepting and showing empathy and love and nobility and integrity and courage towards the AIDS patients. And that sort of led all of us in that way. We all said, okay, we're going to be kind and caring, and we're not going to, you know, even the famous films like the Tom Hanks film, Philadelphia, and all those were educating the public. Look, this is how bad you are. It's bad to discriminate against these people. But now, in COVID times, no, there's going to be no Philadelphia, mate. Now it's like, have you seen Schindler's List?
Go for it.
Yeah, well, we've got the new version.
It's Schindler's List. It's Schindler's List now all the way, isn't it?
And you deserve what you get.
Tracy, how did it finish for you in the end? Like, how did it end for you with the PPE gear and stuff?
Yeah, so I said to my son, look, I can't do it. I took it off. I threw it in the bin. And I went outside and I was emotional, and I rang my mother. And then my son texted me and he goes, oh, Mum, security guard's looking for you. Apparently he went up to my son and said, oh, where's your mum gone? And he told him, I think she went outside, and he came looking for me. So I don't know what he thought I was going to do, but
he thought you were spreading Omicron, did he, throughout the wards or something?
Outside,
How about you, Devon? When you were finally outside the hospital, what did you do? You couldn't call anyone. Did you have anyone with you? I mean, your phone was dead.
Yeah,
what do you
it
do
wasn't quite dead. It wasn't quite dead. I was down to like whatever 2% or something like that. So I sent a text message to say that I was ready to be picked up, and sent the pin pinned where I was, just in case when my phone died. And I just sat there and shook my head. I just could not believe that I was there sitting. I can't believe that somebody can be assaulted. And if you see I'll send you the video later. I didn't send it before because it's legal.
Yeah,
right now.
it's a shame. It would be good to play.
If you saw the video and saw the hit that I took, it's hard to believe that they'd leave me sitting there slumped over all night long and then not make sure that I've been picked up the night. My friend couldn't come with me in the ambulance because she wasn't jabbed. Nobody can come in to get me because my friends are all not jabbed, right? So you have to. So they just let you go. At one time, they used to walk you out and made sure they handed you over to somebody. Not only is there no handover to anybody, but there's no bloody nutrition or stuff. I get hypoglycemic, you know, and I had a few pretty bad turns through the night where I knew I was fine. I would be okay, but it's not a comfortable feeling. It's quite uncomfortable. But I understood if I had to have surgery on my shoulder because my shoulder's pretty wrecked, that obviously they didn't want me to eat. So I understood that. And I understood them being too busy even to give me anything when I went. What I don't understand is the inability to be able to access something that's so vital.
Did you get any treatment in the end, Devon? Did you get any treatment?
No. Do you know what? Absolutely. Nobody yet has, to this stage, has put their bloody hands on me. It's all, here, go get this x-ray. Here, nobody's put their hands on me. There's no real assessment anymore. It's all about sending you off from robbing Peter to pay Paul. Let's just, get this done. And then you can't get this until you get this. And, but my doctor had to start fresh because with new orders, which I don't get any any. I don't get my test done until the 30th of November. Sorry, the 30th of December is when I get my test done. So here I've had this king hit to the head,
broken nose. Matt,
broken
did you end
nose,
up
my
fixing it
shoulders
Rocky
wrecked, and nobody's even
Did you
put
end
their
up
bloody
fixing
hands
it
on
like
me.
Rocky Balboa, and where they stick the things and they just, you might as well just do it yourself. The thing. Can I
Well,
ask you?
I've been on some arnica, and I've really been looking. I've got some good people in my corner, natural people that have really been looking after me. Thank goodness for that, because I don't know what I would have done without them.
Can we just ask though, starting with you, Susie, and even your partner, why aren't you jabbed? Just out of interest.
Because I've seen.
You don't have to tell me, but it's just out of interest.
Because I've done a lot of research on vaccines, and I think I was speaking to your partner, Michael, and
not just during COVID. This
is even before. Like, I didn't get asthma until I got the flu shot, and I started getting the flu shots, and then with my children, things happened, and and I've done research, so I stopped vaccinating one of my sons at 18 months, and my second son was at 4 years old. So I've stopped vaccinating with all vaccines, even though I worked in an infectious disease hospital where I dealt with polio patients, hepatitis patients, all those. I've done my research. I've looked into it. And I believe that my son's got issues due to the vaccines. That's just my beliefs. I've got not a problem with anyone else wanting to vaccinate. Anyone asks me, I say, like, we would have had probably about half a dozen vaccines when we were children. They get
the last one I had was 72
vaccines by the time they're teenagers, 16. They get 72 vaccines all up, like kids are getting 9 vaccines all in one go.
Well, you're from your first day of birth. You're getting back.
Pretty much. You're getting the hepatitis.
Yeah, vitamin K, I think it is.
Yeah, and the Hep B.
Why? You're getting a sexually transmitted disease virus at 15 minutes old that's been researched for 5 days. So that's why I don't like the vaccines. That's why.
Susie, clearly it's a choice you've made for yourself not to get vaccinated. How was that treated previously? Because you've made that choice for many years. How was that treated previously by colleagues compared to how it's treated now?
Nowhere near like now.
Nothing like now. Like, I got the odd person here and there, calling me the anti-vaxxer or something like that, but not like now.
It's just gone ballistic now. It's
my
crazy.
problem with the hospital now is
like it's
the lack of
like that. They look at us.
The lack of communication that my husband got.
Yeah.
And
it's your fault. You guys are causing all this.
Yeah, it's our fault.
Like, seriously.
How long were you on intubation for, Susie? How long were you intubated for?
To about 2 weeks. But
2 weeks? You're on intubation for 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks. But
I come out pretty cool.
I never. It was always. I'd get this could be months. That's what I'd get out of when I could get through to ICU or to talk to anyone.
So basically, a machine was doing your breathing for you, mechanically doing your breathing for you for 2 weeks. That's a long time, I would have thought.
That's why I couldn't walk.
And all the drugs you got to keep you under and whatever.
And then when I come out, I didn't sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. I did not sleep, and I was too scared to close my eyes. But you didn't get the emotional nursing. Like, I like to hold the old people's hands. That's my training, and I'm not even a nurse. And my friend's training is you've got to have the emotional side of things, not only the physical nursing. You've got to be the emotional nursing. So for 3 or 4 nights, I didn't sleep until I got an old school nurse come in and saw me in tears because I haven't seen my family. No communication with Jim. We're trying to organise a rehabilitation bed. The communication between the hospitals are just ridiculous. It's only that I'm in the system that I know what's going on. And this old school nurse come and said to me, held my hand and just gave me that little bit of affection, like just that little bit of motherly nurturing, the emotional side of things. And she said, has anyone showered you yet? And I said, no. She
Except for
said,
4 days.
right, we're getting you a shower today. And just that brushing my teeth and helping me go into the shower, that night I slept. I finally fell asleep that night. So
it's a more important time than ever to receive that sort of care, isn't it? Because you're so vulnerable at times like that. You need
we had another nurse on, and she said, "Love is what cures you." That's what she said.
And then you haven't got family. You haven't got family next to you, and so if they're not going to allow family to be there,
one person.
Well, they've got to fill it in with other stuff. So as far as I'm concerned, the government has blood on their hands, because not once did they say to Jim, how are you and how are your boys? How are you guys coping? You can't see her, so how are you coping? No one says anything. The system is not designed like for this isolation. That's not designed to do this, because you got to remember, if your wife was in hospital, you would go in there, you would bring her some fruit, you would help her have a drink, you would help her, and the nurses don't have to do that, but now they do, and they don't like it.
It's like you're behind a glass window and they sticking their arms through like a little crib thing where they've got their rubber gloves on. That's how they treat you now. It's just get in and get out, do what you have to do, which is very little, and no sort of bonding or not just bonding, but no human to human sort of contact with the patient. And it's, if you've just come out of a sleep where you're basically drugged up to keep you under, and then you wake up after 2 weeks and they pull a tube out and you don't know what's going on, and there's no family there. And
I think Michael wants to move on and understand that, but just is this ineptness or is this deliberate?
I think it's
sacking nurses and cutting staff down is deliberate.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, all these nurses worked through the pandemic. You said you did yourself.
Well, yeah. So it's the same thing,
when we didn't know what it was, when we thought it was deadly, and these nurses worked through and were heroes, we were clapping them at night. I remember one night.
I was a hero.
Yeah, you had to go out. I remember.
When you weren't making TikTok dances, I kept seeing TikTok dances all the time.
Yeah, but you have to clap.
Not CE units.
And it happened in Spain and Italy. They were clapping from the things. But just before we go, I just want to ask Tracy. Tracy, why have you decided to? And now the decision not to get vaxxed comes at a heavy price. You can lose your job. You become a leper. So why have
you're
you
publicly humiliated as you were? You're publicly
humiliated and made to look like Donald Duck in the thing. You know what I mean? The shaming you.
I think against Donald Duck, but yeah. I think initially I was on the COVID train like everybody else. I was worried like people were, but the smarter the virus got, and the fact that I read about doctors being gagged if they see anything, then question marks start popping up. And then seeing the daily tally every day, to me, the maths didn't add up anyway. Like, I don't care if 1,000 people are getting COVID every day if only a few people are going to hospital. It doesn't really, you only want to hear who's in hospital, who's in ICU, and then the cover-ups of why they're really in ICU, and then they change the language to died of COVID to died with COVID. So then you just become skeptical and, I'm not buying into it, and I'm not going to put a trial drug into my arm for something I can't. If I can't trust the people giving it to me, I'm not going to do it.
Is that true for all the members of your family? Is that?
Sorry?
Is that true of all the members of your family, your immediate family?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, initially, we had a lot of family arguments as well as people get sucked into it, and just also trying to fight against the peer pressure because you are going to be an outcast. But then eventually we all got on the same page. And I mean, we all knew that we felt that it was one big lie, but just, getting each other to have the courage to just say it doesn't matter what other people think. You have to do what's best for you. Yeah. So, yeah.
Before we move on to Devon, Rita O'Shea, they've been after me all week. Sorry, I haven't got around to it, Rita. But there's a civil rights rally at all the Bunnings warehouses. Starts on the 27th. Bring signs, loudspeakers, umbrellas. 27th onwards every day. You shouldn't use every day because we've been at a few rallies where every day means one day.
Means one day. One big day, but one day.
2 days. 2 days is good. If you still have to 2 days, then go to 3. But until they cease the discrimination. So that would be interesting to see. But
are we still not allowed in Bunnings? I thought we're allowed in Bunnings now. Is that not?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk to them because I thought we were allowed in Bunnings now. So I'm not sure. I think it's to do with their workers as well. But Devon, why have you decided to pay the cost? And it is a heavy cost now to decide my body, my choice, rather than my body, Dan's choice.
Well, Palaszczuk here.
Palaszczuk's choice, yeah.
Yeah, this is a very, very difficult. This has been a very easy decision for me to make, but it's been a very difficult decision for me to make because my family are all overseas. Back in 2018, I was thrown off the hamster wheel of life in quite great fashion. Sold my house, gave everything away. I was really quite sick. And I managed to get control of my health for the first time in many, probably most of my life. I managed to get control of my health, lost a lot of weight, reversed a bunch of disease, worked bloody hard at it. And I came back here not knowing whether or not I was going to reestablish myself back here in Australia because life was a bit complicated, and got stuck here. COVID clipped my wings, and I'm so grateful that it did, to be honest with you. But at the same time, it is a very difficult decision to make. I knew that it was
why are you grateful that it clipped your wings?
Because I probably would have gone, because I was still in fight or flight. I've got PTSD. I've gone through some pretty shitty things over the last however many years, and I was still in fight or flight mode, and I wasn't ready to settle. It was been really hard for me to settle because COVID's made it that much more difficult. I had a hard time. I've hard time getting back into work and all that sort of thing when I don't want to play the game. I just can't play. I just refuse to play this game, and I don't want to get caught in the web. So it's been debilitating for me. But now that I've found the fight, I found the fight when they started going after our kids. That was it. That's when I dug my heels and I went, okay, I don't care. Honestly, I don't care right now. This has got nothing to do with me anymore. This is about our children. It's about my grandchildren, and it's about the fact that this is just plain wrong. And when they tied in, when they released funds from the super funds, if you remember early in the piece, that was really early in the piece when they allowed us to have access to a bit of our funds, 10,000 that financial year, another 10,000 a year. I knew immediately what it was. It just did not make any sense to me. They were controlling the financial world, which to me meant that they were scared. And I knew that.
Why would letting us dip into our super indicate that to you? What was the reason?
Because they knew people were going to panic and wanted to take it all. People knew what was going on. And they knew that there would have been like a run on the bank type of thing.
So it's to release the tension a little bit. Here, have a bit. Okay. Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Isn't this whole thing about the boiling frog? I mean, the whole thing's about the boiling frog, isn't it? I mean, right now, and this is what we have to. So I've been very connected. I haven't had a life. I've had PTSD. I haven't had a life. I've had a hard time getting back in. So this has become my life. I have been focused on looking what's going on around the world. I've got some really good connections over in North America. I've got some real life data that comes out of there that we haven't had access to here. And I've just been watching, and I've just said, well, I'm waiting till the data comes out. I'm waiting to see what happens in Canada. I'm waiting to see what happens in the United States. And so far, nothing has, if anything, it's just made me just go, this is just got to stop now. This is what it, to me, nobody's calling it what it is.
Access to Devon, what sort of
Pardon?
data have you had access to? What sort of data have you had access
Well,
to?
I know people who over there in the field who have been treating people with COVID and treating people with vaccine injuries, and the alternative treatments that have been poo-pooed here. And that was the other thing. That's when that was really early. The fact that they came out so early and called us tinfoil hat people, the fact that there's been just all the rhetoric, the bullying. I mean, somebody who's had PTSD all of my life, if I get pushed, I push back 10 times as hard. So I've had to push back bloody hard. It's tiring, let me tell you.
Do you think Australians are particularly compliant? Do you think Australians are particularly compliant?
Until you mess with their labor, until you mess with labor rights and stuff, right? And this is where we've gone wrong. This is where we gave our power away to the union movements, because prior to that, we used to take to the streets regularly to fight for our rights, and our income would go up at the same rate as everybody else's income went up. As soon as we gave our power away to the union movements, and then they got into bed, we live in a bought to paid for society. Our universities are bought and paid for. Our medical field is bought and paid for. Our education. Everything has been bought and paid for, and we've got a real agenda going on here that's been going on for a very long time, and people just can't see it. But you have to look around the rest of the world and see, we're the canary in the coal mine, but they are rolling out. All you have to do is look at Israel and some of the other countries. Look at some of the countries that refuse to play the game, and look what happened to some of their political leaders and what's happened to their countries when they refuse to play the game. They've disappeared.
How bad has COVID been in Queensland? How bad has COVID been in Queensland, particularly where you are? And
do you know? I think it's something like the median age of for what is it? The median age of death of dying of COVID is 84, but 86, but yet the median age living
and yet the median age for dying is 83. Yeah.
So you're a little bit older than the median age.
Well, this is none of that using.
Hug me. I'd rather die of my kid's snotty nose.
Damien mentioned that before. Facts don't mean anything. Facts just make people go awkward. That's why I'm saying, people say, I've got the facts. I say the facts don't work anymore. They just bounce off people's
look at Fact Checker.
They freak them up.
Look at Facebook, and Fact Check has come out as opinion now. Well, haven't we been saying that all along?
I actually got an apology from Facebook today. They banned me this morning for 6 days. And so I was thinking, this is going to be awkward. And they had a little button where you could say, you wanted to be appealed. And I didn't think it'd do anything. But they got back with a full apology and said, we're very sorry, we got it wrong. So I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I've been reporting I've been reporting all the government posts as harassment and bullying, because I actually feel like it. I really want to go after the government for harassment.
But you're reporting it to a government body, and if not a government body, it'll be a government appointed body. So it's sort of impossible, isn't it, to use the system
but it's
to help us. We're going to have to help ourselves. Yeah, you might put pressure on it. I'm not saying not to do it, but it's a conundrum.
No, I get it. Yeah,
it is war on love. You guys are talking about. Michael and I were interviewing a nurse. I think it was last Monday, and she was telling us about being in ICU, and there was a male patient was dying, and his wife of 40 or 50 years couldn't come in and see him. So she was on the phone talking to her, saying, he says he loves you. You're the love of his life. She would say back, tell him. She says, you're also the love of his life. This is what's going on. She couldn't even give him the receiver because it would be a danger, because it could be COVID.
Or even hold it to his ear.
Hold it to nothing.
Criminal.
He might get COVID.
At that level of insanity.
Even though he's dying.
Yeah.
He's dying,
criminal.
But we don't want him to catch COVID.
And she couldn't continue in that system.
His wife for 55 years. Yeah.
Well, that's what you have to go through, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and if the worst had have happened to you, it's exactly what he would have had to have gone through. That's exactly what he would have gone through.
Yeah, I agree with everything Devon has just said, 100%. Every single little thing she's just said, I agree with that 100%. It's criminal. It's absolute. There is COVID. We do. Well, I had it, I know. But if I died, I would have died of an asthma attack that was exacerbated by COVID. That's what I would have died.
And then the pressure would have come on Jim. The pressure would have come on Jim to say that you died of COVID, because then your funeral expenses would have been paid for.
Yeah,
that's the reality.
I think
he would have got funding from the government to pay, and that's is incentivized all the way. It's incentivized.
And
Asthma was never mentioned by anyone at any of the hospitals. It was always just COVID.
Even though she's been suffering asthmatic for years.
Really
yeah.
So they never mentioned the asthma. It was just COVID.
It was just pure COVID, or COVID pneumonia, I think they called it.
And I'm young, and this is how it affected me. And I'm young now, and now I can see why all the old people are passing away, because they can't see their families, and it's just wrong. It's just the whole system is just wrong. They're just taking, but they're not giving anything, and that's why I've come on, and that's why I want to,
they're giving everyone a free vax.
Oh, well, we're getting a free vax. How good's that,
Well, think back to the Spanish flu.
It's not free.
If you get on Google and look
up
some of the images from the Spanish flu, where they had them in huge tents, and there's all nurses everywhere going through, and those nurses didn't have PPE gear or anything. I mean, I think they were wearing masks, but that they had the courage to care. This is why people look up to nurses, because, as they said, you went through the AIDS epidemic when people didn't know how we caught AIDS. This is great courage, and the courage to care for not for the money that you'd get if you were a banker is what we love about nurses,
But they built a pop-up hospital in Canberra 18 months ago when it was first coming out, because I was so far, a massive hospital, massive undertaking. No one went there. Wasn't used. I imagine it was dismantled. What? 3 weeks later, did they dismantle it? Was it 2 months later? What happens in that situation? The workers come back in and dismantle it, take all that precise, particular equipment away. It's insane. Yet the narrative rolls on.
But then I was COVID-free, but I was still on the COVID ward. Why am I still on a COVID ward if I'm COVID-free? So the doctors would say you're COVID-free. The nurses will say you've still got COVID. It's like, well, what is it? I'm trying to get to rehab, and there's no communication. It was because I pulled the nurse in charge, and I said to him, stop screwing with my head, because now you're screwing with my head. Now do your friggin' jobs, communicate with the rehab hospital, and get me the hell out of here now. So it was me that did it all. My rehab, 90% of it, I've done it all.
You know how bad they are.
There you go. Look at this comment down here. There's a gentleman, Rockhampton, was offered $9,000 except a COVID-19 on a death certificate. She was terminally ill with cancer. So we all know these stories, and it's still not affecting. I do have to wrap it up, because I do have to go.
So we keep paying that money. That's money we're paying. We're paying money for the jabs. We're paying money for the tests. We're paying money to bury people.
For everything.
We're paying money now to protect the big companies like the Pfizer and Big Pharma from any consequences. There's now some money you can get if you do have an adverse reaction, but it's through the tax system. The taxpayer's paying for it. It's an endless supply of our money, but it's not an endless supply.
And the endless supply goes to the amount of police too. I mean, even at this protest yesterday, there was more police than there was protesters, and even the police said to us, "You guys are fine. You don't need us. Your thing." Anyway, I'm going to give you ladies a gift. I'll leave you on so we can go with Damien trying to talk sense in a nonsensical world to the police, and it sums up a lot of what we've been going through. So thanks so much, everybody, for coming on. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. If you want to say Merry Christmas, do so to anyone here. I'm really sorry. I think you should keep that picture of that Donald Duck outfit for your Christmas card, Tracy. And just, welcome to the new world. Tomorrow,
it might be worth mentioning too that Devon's partner, Jason Miles, is running for Rod Cullerton's party. Is that right? No?
Not a partner, no.
He's not my partner, it's my friend.
Oh, your friend, right? I just thought he was
We've got Jason on. I've had him on twice, so we should get him on.
I thought he'd get some good political advice from you. Was all I was trying to say. I thought he might have good political advisor in his back pocket there. But there you go.
Yeah.
He's good. He's worth backing.
And tomorrow we're doing the Christmas carols. Don't go to Caulfield Park. Everyone's thinking it's on again. It's not on again. It's just our tech guy has done a video of what happened. So I'm having tomorrow off, and from 7:30 tomorrow, we're playing the Christmas carols for the unvaxxed and for everyone that we had at Caulfield. It was lovely. So it's the highlight of that. So we'll wish you from that, and then we'll see you on Christmas Day. So I wish you all, everyone a Merry Christmas. and a
Yep,
good night. And here's Damien trying to get arrested. Delta Damien
And we've
trying
lost
to get
audio.
arrested. I'll see you.
Merry
See you guys.
Christmas.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
We
Stay
can't.
on.
We've lost
This
the
is-
audio,
you're
but
gonna love it.
anyway.
You're gonna
Merry
love it.
Best of the season.
Happy
Thanks,
New Year.
Jim.
Merry Christmas.
Boy, there's two coppers over there without masks on, standing next to each other. No, this is cause for panic. Come on, the whole state is here trying to stop people coming together and wear masks like you guys. There's two police standing next to each other with no masks on. But that's got to be quick. Come on, quick. Let's get them. No, nothing. Nothing. Because it's drivel. It's drivel. Rubbish. How long are you going to... Yeah. What do we do with our fines then if those guys aren't getting fined standing next to each other? These guys are all wearing masks. Why are you guys wearing masks? Oh, because you're just over here. COVID doesn't come over here. COVID only goes over there, near the entrance where the COVID coach is. But COVID knows to keep away from here. Everyone relax. There's no COVID around here. You can tell that's why they haven't got their masks on. They also haven't got their masks on because it's all propaganda. It's propaganda from the government. And they know it. They know it. And there's no morality in it. That's why they're walking away. Because they know there's no morality in it. More no masks over here. More police with no masks. All masked over there, no masks over here. COVID's not here. There's no COVID over here. Relax, everybody. You can walk around here freely.
At Mickleham, they've got to go. They've got to enjoy bashing him up so much.
Yeah, it's a bit silly, but I don't
No
know.
COVID and focus these girls.
It's not, man.
No COVID
It's
here.
the modern world.
No COVID touching them.
Actually, what's
There's only COVID over there when you get
Tell the
line.
truth, and you're telling
There,
the
no
truth,
COVID. Don't take masks off here.
and everyone gets awkward. Even the police walk away.
It's pretty
the
funny that they
modern
walk
world.
away, isn't it? I mean, that
Yeah.
there's no honour in
It's
it.
gold. It's gold, Damien. It's
Mm.
gold. Honestly, it's on fire. It's gold, and it
Yeah.
sums it all up. The truth doesn't matter anymore. Facts don't matter anymore. There's
No.
something else at play, and it's destroying our world.
Make
It
believe.
really is.
Yeah, it is.
It
It
really is. And I think it's cowardice and fear. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, good night, everyone. And
Good night.
and enjoy the carols tomorrow.
Yeah, should be
See ya.
good.
Thanks, ladies. It
guys.
was great.
Thanks.